In this conversation, we're going to talk about why so many misunderstandings don't actually come from what's said. They more often come from what somebody meant to say, but
Hmm.
couldn't quite maybe find the right words for, or
Hmm.
maybe they didn't say anything and we filled in the blanks because every word we hear passes through our own filter or
Hmm.
our own history or our emotions or our
Hmm.
personal definitions.
Hmm.
So even when two people use the same word, they're rarely speaking the same language. For
Hmm.
example, that's why when somebody hears the word safe and feels comfort,
Hmm.
another person, they hear the word safe and they feel trapped, right?
Hmm.
Or why silence or the absence of words,
Hmm.
it can create even like a louder story in the mind than
Hmm.
anything that's actually spoken. So we
Hmm.
fill in the blanks with meaning, and that
Yeah.
meaning becomes our truth. So the real shift begins when you start to notice the space between words and meaning, your
Mm.
own interpretations, and how others are shaping theirs, right?
Hmm.
So by the
Hmm.
end of this, you'll see how to tune your communication through maybe just some awareness instead of assumption. So your
Yeah.
signal lands clearly without
Hmm.
distraction or
Hmm.
unnecessary noise.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you started that, because it's so easy for us to misinterpret what somebody else is saying. And I think a lot of times that happens because we're not even clear what we're saying. Right? So then now we're in a conversation with someone and we're both lost because we weren't clear. That other person took you at face value. They tried to make sense out of it. And now all of a sudden you're down a really weird road with somebody and you don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
Totally. And
Yeah.
200,000 years ago,
Uh huh.
before complex language was even a thing, we were all grunting at each other and we were sending these signals like we were using our eyes, or we
Mm-hmm.
were, we had more expression on our face to
Mm-hmm.
convey the emotions. And that's why like the six basic emotions of, anger, sadness, fear, disgust, surprise, and joy, they're
Mm-hmm.
coming out in our face because we didn't have the language to say, oh, I'm feeling ecstatic, I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
joyful. So we just wore everything on our face. And it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a way to communicate. So now we have to do everything inside our heads and
Mm-hmm.
create the correct semantic or the correct
Mm-hmm.
word for the right feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it just gets lost in translation.
Yeah, lots of lost in translation here. I would say that we humans spend a lot of time here. And that's why we wanted to bring light to this conversation today to really call that out because this is a huge piece for us to understand. If we want to be sending strong signals about what we want and what we need and what we desire, we have to be aware of how we're communicating. But not only that, we have to be aware of how we are interpreting communication,
Totally.
because that's where so much of the challenges come into play. And I think sometimes we are operating off of a feeling that is underneath the surface. And so we may be thinking we're just talking logically about something, but we might be feeling like irritated or really tired. And what we're saying might just be a logical, clear thing, but with the undertone of that other person might only hear the undertone. And then they're responding in a way that probably wasn't invited, but also it was because we weren't aware of how we were speaking and how we were self-broadcasting, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny because on this video, yeah, we're probably more conscientious of our language, whereas when we are at home and we've got our,
Hmm.
feet kicked up on the
Mm-hmm.
coffee table and lounging on the couch, we're going to probably be a little bit more loose with our language in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that we're not really we there's no because when you're in a safe home,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just speak for myself. Like if I'm in a safe home, I'm going to say things that I probably wouldn't say like out in public because
Yeah.
I'm only operating
Mm-hmm.
within the boundaries of people that I trust. But when I'm out in the world, we can't really have that same liberty because
Mm-hmm.
everybody comes from different backgrounds, different cultures, different,
Mm-hmm.
demographics, different all the things. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more I probably censor myself a lot more in public
Mm-hmm.
than I
Mm-hmm.
do in private.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I also think too that some of us have just shut down because we're afraid we're going to say the wrong thing. So that happens as well. So the kind of the opposite happens. There might be people that are just spewing, all kinds of information or frustration, or there's the opposite. People are like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I did say the wrong thing once and it didn't work. So I'm just going to zip it. So I just think we
Absolutely.
have all these variations of how we're out in the world and inside in our own private lives.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why I think it's really important to look at this topic from what is said and what
Mm-hmm.
is not said, because
Mm.
both are two sides of the same language coin.
Okay.
So, what's not said, and when people hold back, they still are sending a signal.
Okay.
Because think about
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
200,000 years ago, we did not have complex language. So
Mm-hmm.
we were probably more telepathic. We were probably more with our tribes, we had to kind of like raise the eyebrow and be like over there, right?
Uh-huh.
Because we
Yeah.
couldn't say over there, right? Or we were just so interconnected because we were survival based within
Mm-hmm.
community that
Mm-hmm.
almost our tendrils, our communication tendrils were so enmeshed,
Mm-hmm.
so entangled. So even if you're at home and somebody is not spot talking and somebody is talking, there is communication going on. And
Yeah.
so that lost in translation isn't just reserved for the person who's talking. It's
Yes.
also reserved for the person who's not talking because there
Mm-hmm.
is something going on.
Yeah. There's an undercurrent or there's another energetic. They're signaling something, whether they are super aware of it or not, right?
Yes, yes. So these examples, this can be interrelational,
Mm-hmm.
like when you're talking about people, well, actually everything we know that everything is in the relational field and everything
Yes.
is interrelational because pretty much, what we are doing here on the planet is being around people, places, things, and experiences. That's pretty much
Yep.
it.
That's
And
it.
people are the ones that are interfacing, or animals, animals, people, plants, beings, let's call them beings. Beings were
Okay.
interfacing, and there is a communication. And so being able to really help ourselves by taking an opportunity to, instead of just be using language as an intellectual practice, it's
Mm-hmm.
also an emotional practice. It's also
Mm.
a sensory based practice. Like, what am I feeling? Like when this person says to me, "Would you like to buy this product?" and
Mm.
you have a absolute no,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say yes, where did that come from? Where did your
Yeah.
yes come from when everything inside of you said, I don't want
Hell
this?
no. Yeah.
Hell no, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
where's the disconnect? How does that happen? How
Yeah.
does the language say one thing, but then our body is saying another thing?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure everyone's had this experience of you are talking to somebody, maybe somebody you care about, or maybe it's somebody at work, and you know that their words mean something else because you can feel it underneath, and you may call that out. It's like, it feels like there's something else here, or that you're frustrated and I want to ask you about that. And then a lot of times people are like, no, I said these things. That's what it is, you know? So I think that also is something we humans do. And sometimes we deny that because we don't want to know what the undercurrent is. We don't want anyone to point that out, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, Sandra,
Mm-hmm.
again. You like ding, ding, ding. So there's defensive language and there's curious language
Mm-hmm.
and there's open language. There's
Mm-hmm.
different types of language. So we could
Mm-hmm.
say, I said this word, it doesn't mean this, but then the tone was this, and the other
Mm-hmm.
person is picking up on the tone, and they're
Mm-hmm.
picking up on the defensive tone
Yes.
or the
Yes.
scared tone. And so they
Mm-hmm.
can't even hear the words anymore. The
No.
words are like, even though this
Yes.
person is saying, but I said that word. It's like, yeah,
But
but, right?
something else was going on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So it was
That.
it,
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking like to this thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
we really need to articulate that there's different qualifying ways in which language is expressed. Is it
Mm-hmm.
open language? Is it defensive language? Is it
Mm.
protective language, even though the words seem normal,
Seem normal.
seem
Yeah.
logical?
And that person might continue to say, but this is all I said. And you're like, no, it's not
Mhm.
what you said. So there's that piece. And then I think on the flip side, there's this other side where we have our own traumas and filters of what might have happened in our past. I'll just use the example of myself. We all grew up with things, right? And mine was that I was lobbied a lot of questions when I was a child. And I'm not going to name names because it doesn't really matter, but I interpreted those questions as an invasion energetically. I didn't know what I didn't know what the answer was, and it felt like I was required to answer those questions. And that created a thing within myself that when somebody lobbies me a question, I used to, I don't do it anymore, but I used to go into what does this mean? I have to protect myself. And I really learned this because I had people in my life that truly were interested in me, were just asking really good curiosity questions. And I had to ask myself, am I misinterpreting this question? Because they might just be curious. So I think that's the other flip side is the way we interpret communication based off of previous experiences or filters we've created around that thing over there. If somebody's right in your face talking to you, it might be that that's just how they are. They're not meant to intimidate you, but I think there's just a bunch of, again, lost in translation pieces here for communication.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that's so interesting. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you and I are
Yeah.
so unique together synergetically because we do
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, we're so similar and then we're
Mm-hmm.
so polarized. Like,
Yes.
I have this sense where there was a lot, like, I always wondered, like, does anybody even know, like, when I was growing up, does anybody
Mm-hmm.
even know that I'm here? And when I
Wow.
am here, it just seems like it's like a blunt force in my face. So it was
Okay.
like, it was either hit or miss.
Wow.
And so when somebody is interested and I feel their curiosity, it just
Mm-hmm.
melts my heart. And so when they're asking me
Oh.
questions, I'm like, oh, thank you. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Mm.
Salbona, it's
Mm-hmm.
like the
Mm.
African greeting. It's like
Oh,
because I say see you,
yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
exist. And
Mm.
it gives me a sense of, oh, thank goodness, because without you seeing me, I didn't know if I existed or not. So
Wow.
it's almost like if somebody asks a question, I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
that's so nice
Oh.
that they're asking. Like,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes I'll even
Yeah.
say that, I'll say thanks for asking, because
Uh-huh.
I really feel that, like, thank you for asking. And
Yeah. Oh
so
my
it's
gosh.
it's an
Yeah.
interesting dynamic how you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was spotlight stuff for me, and it was you just needing to be seen and knowing you existed. So I think
Yeah.
that's helpful for us to kind of notice. I mean, I think this whole conversation is meant for us to be aware of all the different ways that this can happen and also to kind of see our own unique personality, our own unique approach to things based off of our experiences, and how that could really lead us down a misinterpretation road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And language, okay, we do know language is impactful. It is influential. We would
Mm-hmm.
call it powerful because
Mm-hmm.
powerful is impactful and influential.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you know, like have discernment, right? We know when language is lethal and it's leading to something
Yeah.
consequential that is going to harm another. And
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, sometimes the language is a misinterpretation, it's a
Mm-hmm.
mislabeling, it's a miscalculation, it's
Mm-hmm.
a misidentification
Mm-hmm.
that has kind of grown legs. And so people need to not see language as face value, as if that person has been able to like really dial in what they really mean. Because let's face it,
Uh-huh.
most people do not really, really, really know exactly every single word they're saying. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if they say they are, and they're very, maybe they are people that only say things that are meaningful, or they don't say anything at all,
Mm-hmm.
even that can be a censoring, filtering process, like
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism that is not altruistic either.
Yeah.
It's not coming from a place that's actually fully cooked either. It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe coming from a fear of saying the wrong thing, or a
Mm-hmm.
fear of being judged for the things that they're saying. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nobody's perfect here. But
Yeah.
if the one thing that we can get from this is that
Mm-hmm.
we all are like babies learning this language. It's only 200,000 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to, yes, be cognizant of what we're saying and how we're saying it, but also give each other some grace and
Mm-hmm.
maybe ask more questions like, what did you mean?
Yeah.
What did you mean when you said nothing?
Uh-huh. Yes. Oh my gosh.
What
What was
did you
that all
mean
about?
when you gave me the silent treatment for 3 days?
Uh-huh.
What did
Wow.
that mean? What was
Yeah.
happening for you?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
what did you mean when you said, if you keep doing this, this is going to happen?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Where
Mm-hmm.
is your perspective? Let
Mm-hmm.
me understand.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that understanding, it's going to create conflict because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to work through the understanding, which is hard because it's
Yes.
not fully cooked because you're kind of brainstorming,
Yes.
you
Yeah. And
know?
you're maybe not be fully conscious of it yet.
Yeah.
I think also what I love about what you said there is also we can this happens to for in us, and it happens to people we're witnessing. Often people are talking about something that they are projecting. So they might be talking about something they desire or that they want, but they're using you as the target for that. And so they may be extending, like, how come you never show up for me? Or why didn't you tell me this thing happened in your life? I thought we were best friends. Like those kinds of comments where you're like, whoa, wait a minute, we're not best friends. But to be able to look at somebody and not be like, oh my God, they're being a jerk. But it's like, whoa, I think they're telling me something about themselves. And I actually don't have to do anything with that, but I also don't have to run down a rabbit hole with this person because I'm understanding that they're just saying this. Because sometimes people are telling you a story and they're talking about all these other people, but all they're telling you is about themselves too. So if we can
Yes.
also have that awareness, then maybe we're not having unneeded communication. It would be like, whoa, I hear that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
one of our tools in the signal code, and you can go to the signalcode.com,
Mm-hmm.
is one of our tools is thought mapping. And thought
Mm-hmm.
mapping, assumptions and beliefs and conclusions and all the
Mm-hmm.
distractions and expectations and all the fears get wrapped up in our thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
then from those thoughts, we're using language, right, to then
Yeah.
express those half-baked thoughts. And
Yes.
so it can get really, really confusing. But the
Mm-hmm.
tool of thought mapping, we're able to kind of, tweeze things apart and being able
Mm-hmm.
to really get clear
Mm-hmm.
and really have, again, just a lot of grace and a lot of patience and understanding. And so, if you're not really able to articulate what it is that you really want in life, or you have this big goal and you could feel it, and you kind of have, like, these ideas about it, you have this vision, you have this idea, but you're not real sure, how to actually, bring it out in the world and create the legs so that it can start walking. It
Mm-hmm.
does start with the mindset, but also it's connecting to the desires in the body,
Mm-hmm.
and having, two master level coaches like us walk you through that. You have this goal and you want to get to this place and you're in this what's next gap.
Mm-hmm.
We're there for you.
Yeah, we're
So,
there for you. We're talking about communication today because this is a huge piece of what we end up talking about in our program, and just helping you get more clarity. So
yeah.
you're a more of a master communicator.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. And the
yeah.
signal is really, it's giving that clarity and also the direction so that you
Mm-hmm.
can have the highest impact. You can, use your voice, at the right, to the right person at the right time with the right
Mm-hmm.
amount of
Mm,
intensity that is required for whatever it is that you're expressing. And
yeah,
so it really is about the communication and having that language to be able to express yourselves. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
Cool.
yay. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sandra. This is such a good conversation.
absolutely. Thank you for joining us today.